My sisters and brothers, the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Good News of Jesus Christ according to St. John.
Glory to you.
A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. And this is the testimony of John. When the Jews from Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to him, he admitted and did not deny it, but admitted, I am not the Christ. So they asked him, well, what are you then? Are you Elijah? He says, I am not. Are you the prophet? He answered, no. So they said to him, who are you? So we can give an answer to those who sent us. He said, I am the voice of one crying out in the desert, make straight the way of the Lord, as Isaiah the prophet said. Some Pharisees were also sent, and they asked him, why then do you baptize if you're not the Christ or Elijah or the prophet? And John answered them, I baptize with water, but there is one among you whom you do not recognize, the one who is coming after me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie. This happened in Bethany across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. The good news of our salvation.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
And so, my brothers and sisters, there's a cartoon that came to mind of Charlie Brown and Linus. And Linus said to Charlie Brown, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Charlie Brown said, when I grow up, I want to be outrageously happy. Not just happy, mind you. I want to be outrageously happy. And I want to suggest that that's probably something that every one of us has in common. I'm sure none of you woke up this morning and said, well, how miserable could I be today? All right? Everybody wants to be happy. And I was reminded of this a year or so ago over at Yale University. There was a course given on happiness. And I think it was 12 or 1,300 students registered for that course, the largest in the history of Yale University. So, that said, Gaudete Sunday, rejoice always, be happy. Now, what does this really mean to us? Now, I would suggest that there's probably a lot of you out there right now that are not feeling outrageously happy. And as a matter of fact, there was something in the opening prayer that really struck me as I was praying it. Prepare our hearts and remove the sadness. How do you do that? And as I go around in this time of pandemic, and especially during the time of the holidays, there is honestly a lot of sadness out there. And quite honestly, sometimes I feel that way myself. Of course we do. We're human. And in this difficult time, if you don't feel sad every now and then, I would worry about you. And by the way, when we talk about happiness, I would also worry about you if you went around smiling all day long. Anyone who smiles all day long is suspect. There's no such thing. How can you smile all day long? Everybody has his or her moments. And so I'd like to look at it in this way. I'm not against happiness, but I really am, to tell you the truth, right? There's something deeper than happiness, and it's joy. And the joy that I want to speak about is not the joy of Christmas music and tinsel and all the wonderful things that we do during the Christmas season. It's something much deeper. And what I call joy instead of happiness is something that goes on inside of me if I know that God is with me, and if I have that sense of joy inside of me, it doesn't depend on external circumstances. So there can be all kinds of things out there where in fact I do feel sad and I don't feel happy, right? But I can be joyful if I'm in touch with something deeper inside of me. So let's look at this, because I think it's extremely important at this particular moment. A week or two ago, I was on my bicycle, and I was riding down Riverside Park in Manhattan. And I went down for a couple of miles, and I stumbled on something that I didn't realize was there. It was in the papers, but I missed it. Was this gorgeous statue, this bronze statue of Mother Cabrini, Frances Xavier Cabrini. And if you find yourself in Manhattan, this is down right before Battery Park, overlooking Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. Now, for those of you not familiar, Mother Cabrini came to the United States at the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century, and she took care of immigrants. And she would wait there at Ellis Island as immigrants were coming in. And this woman, who was fearful of water, she was by the way, she was also very frail in health, but fearful of water. She crossed the ocean at least 30 or 40 times on the boats coming from Italy here to the United States, and also from the United States to Argentina. This woman who was deathly afraid of water found herself on the water constantly. And she was frail, she was sickly, but this woman built hospitals, schools, orphanages, and took care of immigrants here in the United States and also in Argentina. And it was very moving as I stood there by her statue. Everybody was gathering around the statue. And if you look, she's in a boat in the statue, and underneath the statue, there's the story of her life. So all these people were there reading the story of her life. And I was just so proud in that moment of the heritage that is ours. And in that moment, this gospel text came to mind, and Gaudete came to mind. I thought to myself, here is this woman who dealt with so many difficulties and trials and tribulations, but she had joy, something deep within her that enabled her to do these courageous things, right? This was something beyond a superficial happiness, if you will, that depends on external circumstances. Something much deeper. And as I thought about this, I came across, Mother Cabrini wrote many letters, right? And I came across a letter that she wrote in 1904. And this, I think, is the secret of her joy. It's the secret of Gaudete Sunday. And it's the secret of moving beyond a superficial happiness to a deep joy. How do we get there? And this is what she writes. This is 1904. And she is in New Orleans when she's writing this letter. She says, I know this is a time of much anxiety. It's 1904. And she's writing to immigrants who had nothing. I know this is a time of much anxiety. But away with anxiety. Take courage. Place your trust in God and in His Holy Mother. She goes on. Prayer is that powerful weapon that must defend and help you, not only now, but throughout your entire life. Pray for yourself. Pray for your family, for your friends, for the church, for the world. Make prayer a habit, because if you succeed in experiencing the sweetness found in this intimate conversation of the soul with God, there will never be hours of discouragement and despair. Think about this. There never will be hours of discouragement and despair, nor will clouds long disturb the calm peace of your soul. The secret is obey Christ's precept. Pray, pray, and always pray. And friends, if we do that, that is the secret of Gaudete, of rejoicing. Pray and always pray. And really, Mother Cabrini loved Julian of Norwich and quoted her often. And Julian of Norwich said it so well in the midst of the difficult times in which she was living. She said, and all will be well. In all matters of things, all will be well. And all will be well. And if we believe that, we will not have a fleeting happiness, but we will be able, as we heard in the second reading from St. Paul, to rejoice, not sometimes, but to rejoice always.